Well, we really look at the global markets because we're a global company. We operate in every country in which it's legal to do so. And we've actually have a very distributed, of course.
You got to tell us
Well, it'd be bad if we did otherwise. And we've tried to have a very distributed business. So it's not just that we have sales offices in other places, but we have R&D labs all over the world. We have software development labs all over the world. We have fabs and manufacturing plants in far-flung places. We opened a software lab in Krakow, Poland about 1.5 years ago. We're doing some new work in Vietnam now. And so because of these things, we tend to look for where venture investment is starting to pick up in other regions where it has not been traditionally part of the business model. And we're seeing two trends. One is that governments are becoming part of this. The Russians, you must have seen a bunch of press about this just in the last week. The Russians were a little dismayed at the rate and pace at which venture capital was going into the Russian market. It wasn't really happening as fast as people thought it was, so the government themselves formed a venture fund and is doing seed funding. Ireland is doing seed funding of new ventures. New Zealand is doing seed funding of new ventures. The whole Israeli venture capital community was built up by the Office of the Chief Scientist and others in the government who helped provide funding for companies. And so that's a pretty big trend. And so we're watching other markets where governments are becoming involved and where the venture capital community itself is entering what they see as markets with new opportunity. You know, Intel itself had opened a Turkey and Middle East fund not too long ago, a year or so ago. Maybe we can say last year we did do something that was a little contrary to the model that I mentioned, and we formed a joint fund with Lehman Brothers to do investment in China. And so we just invested in a software company called, I hope I get this right, Kingdee, that is an ERP company that also has some custom software and consulting. And we formed the fund to invest in mid-sized businesses that would grow in that market where we could put some dollars in and help with engineering or with market development in China. Well, I would say, first you would think about which market was more important for growth and where you wanted the money spent, and therefore an investor in X locale would be more beneficial. So I would look at it that way, and then you could get the connections through whatever context you think. And I had mentioned before that we have colleagues in the partner program who only work with startups. They're here too. In fact, they often come to SD Forum events, as Susan knows. So you're likely to run into some of those folks, but you can really do it through me. I should mention too that in terms of building relationships, we're a bit stage agnostic too. We have a very broadly based business, and so we have formed business relationships, or at least started talking to, with an eye to the future, to companies that were very, very early stage, in stealth, no product in the market, and so forth. Those relationships can be built over time. It depends what the market is. We have an extremely broadly based business. We have hardware, we have software, we have services, we have dozens of verticals in which we operate. We have people who are experts in all of those things. And so I think the most common mistake that people make in approaching IBM is to think of it as a single company. Even though we have only 3 major businesses that report separate P&L, hardware, software services, and so forth. We actually have lots and lots and lots of little businesses, and so the real trick is to decide what's strategic for you, what you're trying to accomplish in the market, and help us understand that, and then we'll connect you to the right place.